What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to do a comparison of the Fans Toys Berserk with the Star Toys Commander, both versions of a Masterpiece scale Blitzwing. So these came out a few years apart. I just got this guy September of 25, and this guy we got back in May of 23. So about 2 years apart, a little over 2 years. And I did do a comparison already with this guy with the DX9 Gwalt, their version of Blitzwing. So if you're interested in that, you could take a look. I got rid of that figure shortly thereafter, so I don't have it here for comparison. So we're just going to look at these two today. As I always mention with these comparisons, I try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's subjectivity involved when you're comparing things like this and choosing things that are subjective. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I really do these to help people decide what direction they want to go with their collection, including getting both of them if they prefer. And actually, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to keep both of these guys. This guy will probably end up in the tank mode or jet mode. This guy will probably end up in robot mode. With that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. So here are the accessories they both come with, and some similar things. Here we both got a blaster. Actually, I have his handle folded up. You can see how much bigger the Star Toys is, but both have a blaster. The Fans Toys is painted. They both have a sword. I was really surprised the Fans Toys did translucent. I kind of like it, to be honest, but it's different than their norm. I don't know why I'm not getting focused, but they both have yellow paint on them. They both have an alternate kind of yelling or open mouth face, angry face. And here's what you're left with. The Fans Toys has two additional faces. By the way, these faces come with a red metallic visor for each of them. And then we're left with a alternate head so that you can have the turret on top of the head instead of on the backpack. So we'll give accessories over to Fans Toys. All right, next we'll take a look at the gimmicks on these two. And there isn't that much here for gimmicks. The Fans Toys, I already gave them credit for this accessory, but it does have the gimmick of allowing you to display with the head turret or the backpack turret. The Star Toys does have the opening cockpit, although there isn't really anything in there and it doesn't work that great. The Fans Toys opening cockpit doesn't work at all. So I think I'm going to give a tie on gimmicks. They both really don't have much going on as far as gimmicks. All right, next we'll take a look at the cartoon accuracy and sculpt. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 image there so you can take a look for yourself. And this is really close. Both of them nailed the look of the cartoon. They really went for it. I think the Star Toys has a much cleaner front. There's fewer panel breakup and line breakup on it. But they both have that sculpt that you'd be looking for. Fans Toys, they did try to get the gray here on this side, whereas that one's kind of hidden behind the arms on the Star Toys. But it's not as clean. You know, there's panel breakup back here, as well as some of the beige paint coming through from the other modes. So, I don't know. And then same for these purple things up here. When I first saw that, I was like, why did they do that? But that's actually cartoon accurate. It's in the cartoon. There's little purple bits, where Star Toys doesn't have that. But then, coming to the actual look of the legs, the shape of the legs, I think Star Toys did a pretty good job. Even from the side, I think that their profile is pretty good. Coming to the back, the Fans Toys is definitely cleaner back here. They've got a really compact and flush backpack, which is more like the cartoon. And something that stood out to me that I didn't realize until I looked. These boosters right here on the bottom of this turret are in the cartoon image. At least you could see it here. You know, but they have the whole backpack being purple, which really isn't possible to do because of the transformation. So they tried, they tried to get it to look a lot like that cartoon. I think the Star Toys definitely has more kibble back here just because of the transformation. But both pretty darn clean. So I don't know. It's very tough. I think I'm going to give them a tie on cartoon accuracy. There's some parts where I think Star Toys are a little bit cleaner, but overall, I think they're a tie. Oh, by the way, I didn't forget to mention the color. I do think the color on the Fans Toys is closer to the cartoon. This purple, while I like this purple better, I think it's not as close to the shade in the cartoon, but it's very tough to tell. It changes from scene to scene. Talking about sculpt now, I do think Star Toys is cleaner overall, especially from the front. They don't have all that panel breakup on the backpack, on the legs, on the waist area. Side, I think about the same, equal or similar. On the back, Fans Toys is cleaner on the back, but I'm going to give sculpt over to Star Toys. I think overall it's pretty dang clean, especially from the front. All right, next we'll take a look at the paint on these two. And this one's kind of a no-brainer because Fans Toys pretty much covers their figures from head to toe in paint. Pretty much everything you see here other than the hands is painted. On the Star Toys, we have paint on the head, yellow, red, and white for the face. Some red paint here, yellow paint here. All of this purple, all of this beige, with the exception of this purple right here. All of the white, that's all plastic color. I do think it looks good. It's got a nice gloss to it, but it's not paint. So we're going to give paint over to Fans Toys. Next, we'll talk about the build quality in this too. And both of these are made pretty well. There's some things that I think Star Toys, I really like about how they made it. These kinds of things, like this clips in so nicely. On the Fans Toys, that particular thing is kind of annoying. Like it doesn't lock in place. You sort of push it in and it's kind of stays there, but it's not, doesn't have a lock like the Star Toys does that really locks in place. However, there's some other things on the Fans Toys that the hardware is pretty nice. They got some ratchet in there. They also have things that lock the backpack in place. The backpack is really secure the way they've configured it and really compact. So I think, I prefer some of the build on the backpack. I did have an issue with my Star Toys, and it's unfortunate because I doubt everybody has this issue, but this wing is on a screw. And it doesn't really affect the performance because in all three modes it will stay connected, but this screw stripped, and that might be just a me issue, but I can only go off the figure that I have here in front of me, and I don't have any issues like that on the Fans Toys after multiple transformations back and forth to different modes. Although we'll talk about transformation in a little bit. I'm going to give build quality, just because of that issue I had, I'm going to give build quality over to Fans Toys. All right, next we'll take a look at the articulation. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually. The Fans Toys, the head is on a rotating swivel, goes up to there, down to there, rotates. It is hindered by this backpack. You can get it over it, you just got to rotate it up, but it does rotate all the way around. Shoulders rotate up to here, up to the side, rotation of the bicep at a cut joint. You have I guess it's a double jointed elbow, and there is a cut in the bicep to let you get a little bit further. So you get not quite the full bend, but almost. For the hands, you have rotation at the wrist. You have the wrist on a ball joint, so it can move in and out. So you can get the hand folded in. Although it would make more sense to fold the other way, but you can fold the hands up. Fingers are on 3 pins, and then the thumb is on a ball joint and a pin. And like I always mentioned, the Fans Toys hands are pretty well done. I like how they work in general. Going down to the waist, you have a waist rotation. You only get 1 click. Actually, I guess you get 2 clicks. If you combine the ab crunch with the rotation, you can get 2 clicks in each direction. If you just have it straight, it gets colliding back here. You can move these out and it gets you a little bit more, but I think that's a little cheating. So I'm going to say, 2 clicks in each direction and then an ab crunch. You can lift up on this waist. And I've never actually pulled this all the way out, so I'm not sure how far it goes, but you can get ab crunch a little bit more the more you pull it out. Coming down to the legs, we have hip skirts on the front and sides. Legs are on a ratchet. They'll kick up to there. Back to there. Out to the side on friction, and it holds the weight. There's a lot of die cast down here. Rotation at the thigh running universal. We have a double jointed knee, but I hate that the lower one bends. sometimes. You really just have to hold here and push it up. If you hold down here, sometimes you end up doing the lower one. It is double jointed, but you don't really get much out of it, even utilizing both. So it's kind of silly. They should have just locked that knee. I mean, I get why they did it. You need it for transformation, but coming down to the feet, you have ankle tilts out to here. You have forward and backward motion on the foot, so you can get a walking motion. This doesn't really, there's no way to display this a different way. It just kind of gets in the way. I wish it would lock on to the side. But yeah, there you go for articulation. Oh, I guess you can articulate the cannon on his back too. All right, moving to the Star Toys. We have head on a rotating swivel, so it gets up to there, down to there. Actually, sorry, it's on a ball joint. So forward and backward, side to side, and a rotation. So it does have extra articulation on the head, side to side. Shoulders go up to there, rotate on a ratchet forward. Obviously not much back due to the backpack on both. Rotation of the bicep at a cut joint. Double jointed elbow, it actually gives you the full bend though. You get the whole bend out of it. Hands rotate. And they're on a hinge, so you can go in and out. Fingers are on 3 pins, thumbs on a ball joint and a pin. Again, these hands are just as good as those hands, so great job by Star Toys. Rotation at the waist. If you pull up on the ab crunch, you get a double jointed ab crunch, so you can get it pretty deep. So a little bit of extra work or motion here. Now, I haven't pushed this to its limit and really pulled and yanked on that ab crunch. Maybe there's more in there, but it's just so tight I can't get it out. So I'm going to give them the credit for the double jointed ab crunch. Legs will kick up to there. You can move that hip skirt out of the way. And this is the issue I was talking about earlier with the build quality. I've already dinged them for it, so I'm not going to ding them again. But that might just be my copy type of thing. Leg kick up to there, back to there, out to the side, hip skirt on the side as well. Rotation at the thigh at a cut joint. You have a double jointed knee, full bend. Even though that's double jointed, they don't really get the credit because this one really gives you the full bend. So that's a double jointed knee. And nice die cast piece in there. You have ankle tilts out to there. And you have a toe tilt, toe tilt up, but that's about it. So because of the extra articulation on the double jointed waist, double jointed elbows, the side to side motion on the head, double jointed knees, I'm going to give it to Star Toys. I think they did a great job on the articulation over here. All right, next we'll talk about the transformation and the engineering. When it comes to transformation, I just recently transformed both of these. And I can easily tell you that the Star Toys is way more fun to transform. And one of the main reasons is the time it takes. You know, the Fans Toys isn't a annoying transformation, but it's just too long. It's too many steps. There is one part of the transformation I guess I would call it annoying, which is folding the panels on the front of the jet mode underneath the other panels. That part I think is was not well designed, but the rest of it I think is fine. It's just very long, a lot of steps. This guy is really a breeze to transform. I didn't even need instructions, to be honest. I just did it from memory, and it's pretty enjoyable into both modes. So I'm going to give transformation over to Star Toys. When it comes to engineering, I think I give them a tie on engineering. They both do a pretty amazing job of making all 3 modes look good. Now we're going to talk about the individual tank and jet mode later, and what my preferences are. But as far as the engineering to get there, the hardware, the design, there's some things I really like about the Fans Toys, but then there's something I like about the Star Toys. Both are engineered pretty well. The transformations are very different. They definitely don't do the same things to get to jet mode and tank mode. So I kind of appreciate them both for the engineering design. So we'll give them a tie. All right, there they are in their tank modes. And I think Fans Toys went for the cartoon way more than Star Toys. But something just looks off to me in this tank mode. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the color. You know, you don't really see shiny tanks out there. Also, the wheels, the purple is so bright and shiny. This kind of looks more natural to me. And overall, the tank just looks more like a real tank. Going to the back, Fans Toys has the boosters back here, which something about this tank mode, especially the color, really doesn't work for me. But in addition to that, one thing is Star Toys does have wheels down here, so you can roll the tank. Fans Toys does not have wheels. I found that very strange. Star Toys also goes a little bit higher up and down on this, and can rotate. This can also rotate. But it only goes up to there. It's a very limited. Now you can lift this up, but it starts to look funny. So, you know, that's a strange thing. One thing that Fans Toys does do better is the weapon storage. You can fold this handle back, and we can attach the sword to the gun, and then you can open up the little hatch and attach it right here. And I think that is cool. The Star Toys doesn't have really a spot. You can kind of fake some spots, but there really isn't a particular spot for weapon storage. And it would have been nice if it like plugged in on the top or something. And actually it doesn't even have opening hatches. It has hatches that you move outwards for transformation, but they don't actually open. Whereas Fans Toys does have those hatches, so a little bit nicer detail and weapon storage. But overall, I think I'm going to give it to Star Toys. I like the tank better. I think it looks more like a tank. I like that they put wheels in it. It's more functional. And here they both are in jet mode. And you're welcome for transforming these into both modes. But once again, I think the Star Toys is a better looking jet overall. It's pretty clean, especially the top here. You know, there are panel lines, but it's much cleaner than what we've got here on the Fans Toys. I like the paint, of course, on the Fans Toys. I think the paint looks better, but we're not really judging the paint. We're judging the alt mode as a whole. I also like the little bits here on the wings, which was nice and accurate. I prefer the boosters on the Star Toys version, although this may look a little more accurate. I just prefer the look of these. The Star Toys does roll a little bit better. The wheels on the Fans Toys are pretty small and tight. Cockpit-wise, they're both similar. Neither of them can really open. Actually, is that true? Let me see. Nope, I was wrong. The Star Toys one can open. The Fans Toys one, in theory, can open, but unfortunately it's blocked by its own sculpt, so you can't actually open it. So a little bit extra features there. The Star Toys also, it's very easy to fold up the landing gear, just 1, 2, 3. The Fans Toys, you have to take it apart to put this away. I found that to be really obnoxious. So even though I like the overall look of the Fans Toys jet mode, I think I'm going to pick Star Toys for the jet mode. All right, next let's talk about the cost on these two. And normally I use the Ages 3 and Up website, but they didn't actually have this guy listed on either their Canadian or US site. So I did look at the Toy Dojo website, and the Berserk comes in at $240. The Star Toys comes in at $135. So we're going to give it over to Star Toys. We kind of knew that they were going to be less anyways, so we'll give it to them. And the final factor in this comparison is the Members' Choice category. We're asking my members which one they prefer, just based on their own personal preferences and no other factors. And Fans Toys is going to win this one. No surprise there. He does look pretty stunning in robot mode. So final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score there, and Star Toys is going to win this one. And I am surprised by that. I didn't think they were going to win. I knew they were going to get a bunch of points just because it's a really good figure. I love this figure. But I did not think they were going to win. And that is something to be said. You know, Fans Toys took years to release this thing, right? It had multiple redesigns. and the dates were changed. This is, by the way, this is the last one, right? They've had a few figures that were kind of on hold. I think Dead End, this one, maybe Ultra Magnus. I can't remember what the third one was, but all the ones that were on hold are now out. This is the final one, and it feels a little anticlimactic. And one of the reasons is because we got this guy. This guy is really good. This company could be a competitor to Fans Toys if they actually put out figures. And that's one of the things, right? They've only put out this one figure. They have tracks coming next, but it's been years of, teases and development. Nobody is as prolific as Fans Toys in terms of the number of new figures put out each year. Only X-Transbots even comes close to the number of figures Fans Toys is putting out. So there's something to be said about that. But yes, there's something here where it's pretty amazing that these guys were able to design a figure that looks really good in all three modes. And I will tell you, when I first got the Fans Toys, it looked great. I was really impressed how it looked in robot mode. It was very, very stunning. But as soon as I transformed it into jet mode, and especially in tank mode, I was kind of let down. I was like, this isn't what I imagined Blitzwing to look like, especially the tank. Jet mode's okay, but the tank doesn't do it for me. This guy, pretty much all three modes, looks really good, and it's fun to get there. Fans Toys, I wouldn't say it's fun. I don't think it's a bad transformation, but it's very long. There's a lot of steps. So that leaves you kind of not wanting to do it. I did do it for this review. You're welcome. But it's just not fun because of the length of it. So yeah, Restart Toys, I hope they make more. I'm going to keep both of these. I think I'll have this guy in the vehicle modes since I prefer those over this guy. And I'll have this guy in robot mode since I think he looks spectacular. But really good showing here from Star Toys. I hope they make more figures. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.